We've looked at how velocity switching creates very realistic playing. In fact, different velocities will trigger notes played on different strings or closer or further from the bridge. And we've seen how round-robin samples provide additional realism. Now let's take a look at the special articulations, legato, and release notes. I've loaded the Studio Funk key switch multi. Resetting category type, model, and technique to all, our results in the browser show us all available instruments. Choosing bass electric as our category and electric fingered as the type, I'll select Bissonette Studio Bass. The actual instrument recorded was a Music Man bongo 5-string bass, and the player was Matt Bissonette. With type set to fingered, we can access either samples played near the bridge, those played further up the string, or both using velocity switching. If we're searching for slapped samples, choose that as the type. The multi is changed to Studio Funk, but it's the same player playing the same instrument. This variation of the multi includes some slap samples. These samples will be triggered when playing at the highest velocities. Otherwise, the instrument is somewhat similar to the studio bass that we've just looked at. Going back to our main page, for patch 1, Studio Funk sustains, normal playing. Check out what happens when I play a rolling chord with all the notes sustained on this instrument. Pay attention to how the earliest played note, the low note, drops out. In this scenario, Trilian can sustain 4 notes at once. As soon as a 5th note is played, the earliest played note will drop out. Of course, there's something else going on here, total distortion, as we can see in our sequencer's channel strip. All those sustaining notes are just too much. I'll use my main page controls to lower the output volume of part 1. Notice that you can also lower the output volume of the entire multi in the upper right. That's a little bit better. So now we're working with the Studio Funk patch, part of the Studio Funk key switch multi. The heart of the patch is the sound source, the large multi-sampled collection of different velocities, pitches, and round-robin samples. Well, the sound source has some additional tricks up its sleeve, including the special articulations that we'll be looking at, the legato function, and the multi-sampled release notes. Here's an example. The 2 adjacent notes are mutually exclusive. That's unlike these notes an octave apart, where both notes can sound together. The legato samples make it easy to perform realistic hammer-ons and pull-offs. With this technique, play one note, and while keeping that note depressed, play the second note, and then release the second note and play it again. With this playing technique, you'll keep one note depressed at all times. The note that's held down continuously will sound until a second note is depressed. That note will sound and cut off the first note. But as soon as it's released, the note that you're still holding will re-trigger. The use of the legato samples and the exclusive polyphony only happens when the notes that overlap are either a half step or a whole step apart. Legato can be switched on and off from the main page controls, but we can also access it from the more detailed Edit page. Click on the Edit button and check out the central area. This is the sound source section in the patch editor. From this view, we can load alternative sound sources or check out the sound source zoom. Over here on the right-hand side, in the patch common area, we can change the number of voices available for non-adjacent overlapping notes. It's currently set to 4, as we've seen. Let's go to the sound source zoom by clicking on the magnifying glass icon. The bottom area of the sound source zoom window is the special articulations section. There are 2 types of special articulations. We can choose to use legato sound sources or not from this window, but there's an additional layer of samples available within these instruments, specifically capturing the sound of the fingers coming off the strings. An entire set of release note samples were taken for each sound source, multi-sampled across the range of the instrument. These samples are triggered with MIDI note-off messages, and their relative volume is adjusted with the release level slider. Did you hear that squeak on the note release? Or, and here are releases on repeated notes. Those release noises were not identical, even when I was repeating the same pitch over and over. The multi-sampled release noises means that round-robin samples are available for the release notes. It also means that the release notes will be tuned specifically to the note that you're releasing. You can disable the use of tuned release note samples by clicking on the Release Key Track button on the right-hand side. This will not disable the use of the round-robin samples. In this example, notice how the release notes still sound different. If you want to disable the use of release notes altogether, you can simply lower the release level slider all the way down to its lowest level. I'll click on Release Key Tracking to re-enable the use of tuned release notes. And now, exit the Sound Source Zoom window by clicking on the magnifying glass icon. Then I'll exit Edit View by clicking on the Main button. Release note intensity and the legato functionality are available as main page controls. What does it sound like when we turn off legato? Ugh, not so good. I like to leave it on. Then I can adjust my release noise level greater for slow pieces, perhaps less for faster pieces. And there you have it, polyphony, legato, and release noises.